Hello and a warm welcome to New Central Studios. I'm Felicity Ezewike here with the stories making headlines beyond the continent. Let's begin by telling you that NASA has given an update on two American astronauts who are stuck on the International Space Station. Astronauts Sunita Williams and Butch Wilmore launched into space on June 5 for a mission expected to last 8 days. The spacecraft that took them there, Boeing Starliner, has faced technical issues that has halted their return to Earth for more than 2 months. NASA officials previously outlined problems with the components in the Starliner's multiple thrusters. It was reported that the crew is not in danger, but they could be stuck on the station until February 2025. For more on this, I'm joined by our international correspondent, Afua Hagan. Afua, it's good to have you. Tell us, what went wrong with the Starliner?
And that's the question definitely on the astronauts' minds this evening. So the Starliner was sent up with a small helium leak. This was discovered before it even left Earth. And actually, engineers thought that it wouldn't become a problem. But in fact, it became a further problem because two further leaks developed on the way to the International Space Station, one about the size of the first leak that was detected at launch, but the other one is about 5 times larger. Now, 5 of the 28 maneuvering thrusters cut out on their approach to the International Space Station. 4 of those managed to be restarted, but further leaks were also discovered in the propulsion system as well. So basically, tests have revealed that the likely source of these leaks, these helium leaks, is Teflon seals. Now, they swell when they get hot and they block the propellant getting into the combustion chamber. So basically, the ship at the moment is not flight worthy. And the conversation is whether it can be fixed by the astronauts and then they can use that Starliner that they're on to get back to Earth, or later on in February 2025, when another rocket goes up, it will bring these 2 crew members back. And in the meantime, they are stuck on the International Space Station.
How common is it that astronauts get stuck in space like this?
Well, it's not uncommon that space missions will be longer than they initially thought. They've been on this space station or on this mission since July 5th. They thought it would be around 8 days. Now it looks like they're going to be there until 2025. Now a similar thing happened to a Soviet astronaut in 1991 called Sergei Kirilev, and he was stuck aboard the USSR, as it was at the time, the Mir space station. And he was actually on that space station when the Soviet Union dissolved. He ended up spending 311 days in space before returning to Earth. And when he did, the country that he left no longer existed, and he was not supposed to be up there for that length of time. So it's not uncommon for that to happen, but I think the length of time that they could be up there for is uncommon. You know, astronauts plan perhaps for a few days or a week or 2, and they know that each mission is not going to go smoothly. They know that things can go wrong. They plan for that and they account for that when they decide to go on these missions. But it is unusual that they would have a stay that's, months and months longer than they initially planned.
Okay, one thing that's been talked about is the fact that the Starliner is made by Boeing, who have had a really rough time of late. What does this say about the company and their safety record?
Well, absolutely. Boeing are having a terrible time of it at the moment. The optics for them are particularly horrible. They've had many, many issues with the latest generation of Boeing 737s. When you had the crashes of those 2 MAX planes in 2018 and 2019, 346 people killed in those incidents. And now you have this incident with their spacecraft that is having all these issues. And, the space division and the Air Flights division are separate, absolutely. But like I said, the PR and the optics for Boeing are pretty terrible. And also, if it takes a SpaceX vehicle to rescue these particular astronauts, that's pretty good PR for SpaceX, but again, very bad PR for Boeing.
All right, okay. Thank you very much for speaking with us. Talking politics in the North America, former President Donald Trump is set to present his economic proposals and hit out at hardships created by the Harris-Biden administration at a North Carolina rally on Wednesday as he faces increased scrutiny from union workers. Trump has come under fire from union members for voicing support for firing workers who strike, which he brought up during a social media conversation with Tesla CEO Elon Musk earlier this week. The United Automobile Workers Union has since filed charges with federal labor regulators on accusations of intimidation, as the federal law says companies cannot fire striking employees. The stop in Asheville, North Carolina is the second rally for Trump in 2 weeks, marking a slower pace for the former president's campaign. In South America, former Argentine President Cristina Kirchner has said that in the months leading up to her attempted murder in 2022, there was a crescendo of violence against her. Kirchner said this while testifying at the trial against those accused of the failed assassination. The former president appears for the first time in a trial against Fernando Sabag, who on September 1, 2022, pulled the trigger on her ex-partner, and a third subject who was their employer on street candy vendors. Sabag twice held the pistol aimed at the former president's head in the midst of a crowd that had gone to the vicinity of Kirchner's apartment in Buenos Aires to support her in the face of the imminent corruption conviction imposed on her on December 6, 2022. The bullet did not exit. Sabag was captured by Kirchner's supporters and then handed over to the police. Heading now to the Middle East, where Gaza ceasefire talks will be held in the Qatari capital on Thursday, while it remains unclear if Palestinian Islamist movement Hamas will participate. Qatar has been engaged in behind-the-scenes efforts with support from Egypt and the United States to reach a deal for a Gaza truce and hostage prisoner exchange after more than 10 months of war. A source close to Hamas and a second source close to the talks confirmed Thursday's meeting in Doha. Meanwhile, displaced Palestinians in the Gaza Strip expressed hope for an end to the war so that they can return to their homes.
احنا بنتمنى نهاية الحرب، بنتمنى العدوان يقف، لأنه استمر هذا العدوان ما يقارب 10 شهور من سياسة تجويع إلى هذا الشعب المنعزل عن جميع العالم. تم بالطبع عزل هذا المجتمع أكثر من مرة عن العالم. نحن بأمس الحاجة إلى أن يتوقف هذا العدوان بسبب وصول عدد من الامدادات الطبية والامدادات إلى جميع سكان قطاع غزة، لأننا جميعنا مع الأسف نتنياهو كل مرة من زمن كثير، من اول ما قعد على المفاوضات نتنياهو بضطر انه يوقف هذه المفاوضات، وقفها عن طريق ما بعطى صلاحيات كبيره لجميع المفاوضين. بنتمنى انه نتنياهو وحكومته يتعاطوا مع هذا الشيء ويصير احنا عندنا حل، لانه عن جد الشعب زهق من قصه الحرب.
ونتامل من الله انه كل بكره يخلص وقف اطلاق النار وحل المشاكل، ترجع الناس لبيوتها وترجع الناس لاراضيها وترجع الله يا رب تكون توقعات 100% لكل الناس متامله الحل بكره.
Meanwhile, U.S. President Joe Biden says a ceasefire deal in Gaza could potentially deter Iran from retaliating against Israel for the recent killing of a Hamas leader, a move that has heightened regional tensions. His comments came after Iran dismissed Western calls to de-escalate its threat of reprisals. Iran has held Israel responsible for the July 31 killing of Ismail Haniyeh, who was in Tehran for the swearing-in of Iranian president. Israel has yet to respond to these accusations. In retaliation, Iran has vowed to avenge Haniyeh's death, which followed an Israeli strike in Beirut that killed a senior Hezbollah commander. Biden acknowledged that negotiations were becoming difficult, but affirmed that he was not giving up on efforts to reach a resolution.
getting hard. We'll see what Iran does, and we'll see what happens if there's any attack. But I'm not giving up.
Are those two things tied together? Do you have the understanding that Iran could cease or stop doing an action if a ceasefire deal was possible?
That's my expectation, but we'll see. Thank you.
In Europe, the governor of Russia's Belgorod region, Vyacheslav Gladkov, has declared a state of emergency, describing the situation as extremely difficult amid ongoing Ukrainian bombardment. He announced that, effective immediately, a state of emergency would be enforced at the regional level, with a request soon to follow for the federal government to extend the declaration nationwide. Belgorod shares a border with Ukraine's Kharkiv region and is adjacent to Kursk, where Ukraine has launched a surprise offensive, marking the most significant cross-border attack on Russian soil since World War II. Gladkov also reported that Belgorod had been targeted by Ukrainian drones.
Сложной, напряженной. Обстановка в нашей Белгородской области продолжает оставаться крайне сложной, напряженной. Ежедневные обстрелы со стороны вооруженных сил Украины, разрушенные дома, раненые, погибшие мирные жители. Поэтому принимаем решение с сегодняшнего дня на всей территории Белгородской области с целью дополнительной защиты населения, с целью оказания дополнительных мер поддержки пострадавшим, объявить чрезвычайную ситуацию регионального.
In the meantime, evacuees from Russia's Kursk region have recalled their homes, shaking and seeing drones smashing into civilian vehicles as they escaped from the ongoing Ukrainian incursion into the western region. One of the escapees, who fled her village around 15 kilometers from the border, described it as horrible.
Начались прилеты по ферме, по полям, по машинам. В последний день, как мы выезжали, дрон скинули на обычную машину. Просто вот люди едут, они их скидывают. Люди начали уезжать, выезжать, они на мирных людей скидывали эти дроны. Там полпоселка стоят машины с мирными людьми, они все расстрелянные. Они лежат на полу в машинах, неизвестно сколько в машинах людей. Это просто ужасно. Смело, это как бы громко, дроны летали, мы на работу ездили, не знали уже, едешь и боишься, приедешь домой или нет. Во двор страшно было выйти, они и во дворе, и над домами, везде. Но последние 2 ночи это было просто ужасно. Просто и мы не спали, у нас кровати тряслись, ходуном ходили от взрывов, от всего.
Сегодня буквально полчаса мать звонила, им передали. Там уже ВСУ находится прямо в самом селе. Живут в этом доме, который он восстанавливал, который сначала сгорел, потом он новый построил. В этом доме не живут, у него там хорошая, как на перекресток, и, видать, они выбрали это место, им видно далеко все. То есть, и живут там, рядом магазин вскрыли, гуляют, сейчас вот звонили, гуляют там магазин.
Let's tell you that one person has died and power cuts disrupted as storms batters France, leaving thousands of homes damaged due to the thunderstorm. The teams are working to restore power to many homes after the storms brought strong gusts of wind and heavy rain overnight on Tuesday to Wednesday. The prefecture said in a press release a 78-year-old man died on Tuesday evening in circumstances which remain to be clarified, according to emergency services. The man died of electrocution in his flooded cellar while operating his circuit breaker.
De la ligne à haute tension qui passe au-dessus là, du terrain. Et puis d'un coup, j'ai entendu un gros bruit avec une grosse boule de feu et le câble était tombé par terre. Et ma femme a eu très peur, de me demander ce qui arrivait. Et puis après, ça a senti le brûler dans le garage et on a constaté que le compteur et le tableau électrique avaient reçu, quoi.
Les coupures ont bien diminué. Hier soir, au plus fort des orages, on était à 14 000 clients coupés. Ce matin, on est à 1500 clients coupés. Donc on a rétabli beaucoup de clients, mais il nous reste encore pas mal de chantiers à conduire.
In Asia, Thailand's constitutional court has removed Prime Minister Srettha Thavisin, ruling against him in an ethics case that has plunged the nation into fresh political turmoil. In a narrow 5-4 decision, the court found that Thavisin violated regulations by appointing a lawyer with a criminal record to his cabinet. The case was brought forward by former senators linked to Thailand's previous ruling junta. This ruling comes just a week after the same court disbanded the main opposition Move Forward party and imposed a 10-year political ban on its former leader, further deepening the country's political crisis.
ตุลาการศาลรัฐธรรมนูญเสียงข้างมาก5-4 วินิจฉัยว่าความเป็นรัฐมนตรีของผู้ถูกร้องที่1นายกรัฐมนตรีสิ้นสุดลงเฉพาะตัวตามรัฐธรรมนูญมาตรา170 วรรค 1 อนุ 4 เนื่องจากไม่มีความซื่อสัตย์สุจริตเป็นที่ประจักษ์ให้เห็นว่าผู้ถูกร้องที่1ไม่มีความซื่อสัตย์สุจริตเป็นที่ประจักษ์และฝ่าฝืนทางจริยธรรมอย่างร้ายแรงรวมทั้งรู้เห็นหรือยินยอมให้ผู้ถูกร้องที่2หรือผู้อื่นใช้อำนาจหน้าที่ในตำแหน่งนายกรัฐมนตรีของผู้ถูกร้องที่1เพื่อให้ได้ดำรงตำแหน่งรัฐมนตรีโดยมิชอบเป็นการ
China's top diplomat Wang Yi has met with Myanmar's junta chief Min Aung Hlaing in the country's capital city during a Southeast Asian trip this week that also includes Thailand. China is a major ally and arms supplier to Myanmar junta, but analysts say it also maintains ties with armed ethnic groups that hold territory near its border. An unidentified spokesman for China's foreign ministry said Wang's visit to Myanmar was aimed at deepening bilateral, mutually beneficial cooperation in various fields. Myanmar is also a vital piece of China's Belt and Road Initiative, President Xi Jinping's flagship $1 trillion project that includes maritime, rail and road projects in Asia, Africa and Europe. However, progress in Myanmar has been hampered by the conflict since the military coup. Japan's Prime Minister Fumio Kishida has announced that he will not seek re-election as leader of his party, marking the end of his premiership after just under 3 years. The ruling Liberal Democratic Party, which has governed Japan with few interruptions since 1945, is set to hold an internal leadership election next month amid declining popularity due to rising prices.
今回の総裁選挙では自民党が変わる姿、新生自民党を国民の前にしっかりと示すことが必要です。そのためには透明で開かれた選挙、そして何よりも自由闊達な論戦が重要です。その際、自民党が変わることを示す最も分かりやすい最初の一歩は、私が身を引くことであります。私は来たる総裁選には出馬いたしません。総裁選を通じて選ばれた新たなリーダーを一兵卒として支えていくことに。
Back to South America. Authorities say at least 5 people have been killed and 3 others injured in gang clashes near a mine in southern Ecuador. Forensic teams are currently investigating the site, which is highly sought after by drug trafficking organizations. The violent confrontation between armed criminal gangs is part of a series of recent attacks aimed at gaining control of the mines in the region. Ecuador has seen a significant rise in crimes in recent years. On January 9, the president signed a decree acknowledging an internal armed conflict and ordered the naturalization of 22 criminal gangs. Neutralization, I beg your pardon, of 22 criminal gangs.
El lugar es un lugar alejado de la población. Tuvimos aproximadamente unas 2 horas hasta llegar al punto de extracción. En el lugar pudimos visualizar estas personas que habían sido victimadas. Inmediatamente el personal de criminalística procedió a fijar los indicios y hacer el respectivo levantamiento de los carros. Bueno, de acuerdo existe una hipótesis, puede haber sido de madrugada, tipo 3, 4 de la madrugada. Nosotros fuimos alertados en la mañana y hasta armar los equipos de trabajo porque es un lugar muy peligroso para acceder. Tenemos que tomar todas las medidas de seguridad para que nuestro personal no sufra ningún daño.
Este enfrentamiento.
Nosotros hicimos un barrido por el sector con todo el personal, con los compañeros militares, recorrimos todas las 2 caminas del sector y solamente podemos confirmar de que estaban solamente las 5 personas hasta el momento.
A bit of sports. The Premier League will hope to reduce frustration with the VAR system in the 2024-25 season with the launch of a social media account that will provide near real-time updates and explanations regarding officiating and operational decisions for every match. Teams voted in favor of keeping VAR in June despite huge amounts of criticism about the technology-aided officiating system last season, with Wolverhampton Wanderers initiating a petition to scrap it. In addition to posting refereeing decisions, the X account will also provide insights directly from the VAR hub and refereeing experts with the aim of bringing transparency, the league said. And that's all we have at this hour. Do send your eyewitness report to the number showing now on your screen. You can follow us on social media to do that as well. That's at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Evo TV, and on YouTube. As always, thanks for watching. I'm Felicity Eziwike.